Imagine never having to say, I wish I have a lot of money. When I grow up, I'm older and I retire, I can do something. So I'm here to basically to share you about my story, that one thing that I did a long time ago, about 16 years ago, that changes everything for me. And number two is to talk to you about this great movement around the world called social enterprise. So a lot of you, to start off, a lot of you ask, what is social enterprise? I'm actually a very good audience at the moment because a lot of these students here from RMIT are the future of Vietnam. And you guys are business leaders and leadership in the future, so I think it would be really good to understand about what social enterprise does. So basically it's a commercial business principle to promote ethical goods and services to achieve social and environmental outcomes. That's what basically it is. So you no longer have to say, I wish I had money to help someone or to help the community, my community, but actually combine both business and social and do the world and then contributing that one thing that you can contribute to make this world a better place. Let me introduce myself first, my history and how I came about starting KOTO and what KOTO is today, and about the future of social enterprise movements as well. First, I actually came to Vietnam about 16 years ago. I'm from Australia. I'm half Vietnamese, half Korean. No, I can't speak Korean, so I apologize. I was raised in Australia, and then about 16 years ago, growing up in Australia with very basic, from my family, from very basic upbringing, I studied tourism, and when I came here on a business trip, basically to inspect hotels and the tourism industry in Vietnam. So I went for a walk in the Opera House 16 years ago, 1996, and I met 4 street kids that changed my life. Those kids looked at me as if they smiled and they spoke with their Japanese and they thought I was Japanese, but I'm not. And I spoke a very broken Vietnamese at that time. And then we have a conversation. I asked them a very typical tourist question, like, what are your hopes for the future, and do you go to school and all that. And I found out that they don't. They work 16 hours a day. They're under 16 years old. They sleep on riverbanks, and they shower next to an open sewer. So I spent the next 2 weeks taking about 60 kids. So obviously word got around that a new sucker was in town that's going to shop them to dinner. So over a bowl of noodle soup, I witnessed and a Coca-Cola. I sat and I spoke to them. And that one particular night, that one thing that I did was to make a decision. I saw a need and I acted on it. I didn't have any qualification in the hospitality or any qualification in development. I was basically someone who just wanted to help. So armed with just my philosophy and my passion, as some said, I came to Vietnam 4 months later. I returned to Vietnam 4 months later. I spent the next 4 years learning the hard way of the old Chinese proverb of give a man a fish today and he'll eat them today. So I basically gave every street kids that I met fishes. I put them through English classes and paid for their accommodations, allowance, etc. And I remember working very hard to please the tourists to get an extra tip so I can look after those kids. At the end of the 4 years, I found out that the way I was helping them wasn't helping them at all. So here came the next step of my development. I discovered that I need to be able to show them how to fish so they can eat their whole life long. So I started a concept was very easy because in the tourism at that time, hospitality seems to be the most transferable skills you can give someone. But KOTO for me, when I started in 1999, was never about just the vocational training. Those kids that I was helping needed something more than just hospitality training. They needed a family. So KOTO to me was always about the first experience going to the beach, or sleeping on the bed for the first time, or experiencing everyone around you and clapping and singing you a happy birthday song because it's your birthday that you didn't have before. So I started KOTO with 9 kids, and over the next 12 years, my challenges never really stopped. I developed a model that basically have a fantastic outcome. So basically it's a hospitality training program that's accredited through Melbourne, Australia, Box Hill TAFE, and the other one is the life skill component and also the English training. At the end of the 2-year program, these kids have walked through an amazing 2 years of transformation into self-empowered, self-confident young hospitality professionals. So you can imagine those kids that trafficked, abuse, neglect, street kids, victims of Agent Orange, disabilities, were coming in and not employed, not as unemployable, gaining jobs at the Hyatt, the Sofitel, the Sheraton, working not only in Vietnam but also around the world. This is hard to imagine because back then, about 10, 15 years ago, when I started knocking on doors and saying, would you hire my kids, people laughed. They said that this aren't street kids supposed to steal, they're unreliable, they're lazy, they're undisciplined. But what I've managed to do is to change perceptions about people, ideas of what kids that just needed a start in life. But over the years, because I couldn't register myself originally as an NGO, as not-for-profit, which is a non-government organization, which is basically the only way you can go back in those days, excuse me. I actually have to run it as a business because it makes perfect sense for me that when my kids who have an education level only up to grade 4 need to have something that go in line with their theoretical training. So the practical training is the way to go. And in order for me to set an example and say, look, you have to be independent and stand on your own 2 feet. You yourself as an organization can't rely on always for funding from other sources. So KOTO run a successful restaurants that these kids have their practical training. So at the end of the 2 years, these kids are now working in international hotels and restaurants. What mostly amazing is the last 4 or 5 years, I stumbled onto this social enterprise. I remember about 10, 15 years ago when I started it and I tried to get my first grant, people said that you're running a business and also you're running a charity. What are you? How do we know you're not double dipping? How do we know that you're being honest? And the answer is no, you don't know. Social enterprise or social entrepreneurs are basically people who have a vision, who have innovation, and who have the passion to carry through those vision. And you can only measure them by the outcomes that they deliver. And the outcome for KOTO is that over 500 kids never return to the streets. They're now in places and jobs in managerial roles. They're in studying universities. They're overseas. They have families of their own that they share with you. And they become successful. And those kids then go on to help 3, 4 other people in their families. And those 3, their siblings or their parents will never have to go and work on the streets or go without money or without food. That's the power of one. That's their impact. They can pass it on. But the last couple of years, the social enterprise movement has become such a great impact because basically people come to realize that you can actually do both. You can create a very successful business and they can also meet a need in your society, in your community. And that's what KOTO has done. We as an organization just restructured recently, and basically what we've done is, for the foundation, we do what we do best. We look after the kids, we empower them, their confidence, and they're loved and they have their house parents and all that. And then we have the enterprise model, which then looks after the restaurants, the catering, we're doing the hotels, we're hoping to open a hospitality school soon. They're all fee paying, they will go back to help KOTO to expand. They say there's a very successful social enterprise is when you have an idea and then you can act on it. And then you can replicate the model in other places. So for us, 2 years ago, I replicated this model in Ho Chi Minh City. And I remember my journey started in 1996 in Ho Chi Minh City in front of the Opera House. Beginning of July this year, my first class, second class of students graduated at the Opera House about the beginning of July. And I was very emotional, of course, as you can imagine, because my promise that has been over for 16 years has come full circle. So basically, for anyone who's interested in say, okay, well, one of the major problem is the funding aspects of setting up something like this. I can tell you because there's a lot of interest in Vietnam because economically it's been growing so rapidly. And a lot of there's 200 social enterprises currently active in Vietnam. And there are more coming and will grow in the next couple of years. In line with that, also, there's a lot of social investors. If you know the likes of China Capital, China Capital, all these big major players in Vietnam, you also know that there's a lot of people who have money who are not interested in just on the investment side only. They want to be able to invest in social causes. So if you have an idea and you believe in them and you're passionate about those, then I would say go for it. And then to have the power to convince someone to invest in your idea and grow the idea as well. They said that, I'm just trying to look at the time thing. They make you kind of sort of nervous. And he looks very serious as well, 6 minutes. They said that it's not okay, it's no longer okay to apply the business principle of the bottom line, the double bottom line. But they said now, in the 21st century, is to apply the triple bottom line. You have to put people, and you have to put profit, and you have to put planet into the equation as well. Because it's no longer acceptable that you're just gonna run a business only without thinking about the world around you and the people that's affected by it. I attended a conference about last year where they said, guys, in 2012, there's about 7 billion, the population of the world is 7 billion people currently. They said that by the time 2050, the population will grow to 16 billion people. That's over double, basically. And they said that the growth, the rapid growth of the population of people is not going to be enough to feed the planet. So they're going to look to you, the future of the world, the young people, to think outside the box, to have the entrepreneurial skills, to have the passion and the drive and the innovation and the foolishness and the hunger to be able to carry through those ideas and make this world a better place. So I guess in conclusion, for KOTO, my plan is I want to continue to grow KOTO. I believe in the model. It's an acronym for no one, teach one. And I guess to sum it up, to bring back to the human side of KOTO, not just the business side. We had this one particular kid who comes from the Hill tribe. He's now since graduated, and he's on his way to the Middle East, Dubai, to work in one of the intercontinental properties. He never slept on the bed before because he's in the Hill tribe, and for the first couple of months of KOTO, we rent house for those kids. And we have a bed, which he didn't manage to, for at least for the first couple of weeks, he couldn't sleep on. And then it was on his birthday, that particular morning, that his roommates, all four of them in a room, that baked him this cupcake that left on his bed. So when he woke up, he looked around, being a very man thing. He looked around, made sure everyone was asleep, and he cried quietly. And for the whole day that day, he carried his cupcake and never put it in his backpack or never eaten them. At the end of the day, when someone asked him why he didn't eat his cupcake, he quite confidently and actually quite happily he said, because it's the first time I had a birthday. And that was he's 19 years old. So for him, it was a very important thing, and he wanted to make that moment last. And for me, I'm actually so lucky because I've been working in a job that I love so much, even 16 years onwards. And when I talk about those kids, I still get quite emotional, and that's where the passion comes from. So I would end there. And he's smiling as well. So thank you.